Welcome to the deep dive, where we really try to get past the surface level and give you the insights you need to be, well, genuinely well informed. Every single entrepreneur, every business leader, they wrestle with it at some point, right? That shared aspiration.
Yeah.
Building something that doesn't just flash and fade, but something truly lasting, something remarkable that really stands the test of time. When you, our listener, think about those truly iconic, successful companies, what jumps out at you first? Is it just how long they've been around, like decades, maybe even centuries?
Was it maybe their incredible growth, that kind of, market domination?
Exactly. Or is it something maybe less tangible, like a kind of resilience, or maybe a power to just completely transform? What actually defines them?
That's such a big question, isn't it? And honestly, a really complex one. Because, look, everyone dreams of building a great company. That aspiration is pretty universal.
Yeah.
But the reality, achieving it, and then this is the really hard part, sustaining it in today's market.
Yeah.
Which is just so dynamic, often chaotic, fiercely competitive.
Yeah.
It's anything but simple. And the definition itself, what greatness even means, and maybe even more importantly, the actual path you take to get there. Well, that can be surprisingly nuanced. It often leads companies down very different strategic roads, even if they're in the same industry. There's just no single easy blueprint.
Absolutely. And that really brings us right to the heart of our deep dive today. What truly sets apart a visionary company from one that's maybe just great? Or, are they maybe just different facets of the same thing? Today, we're diving headfirst into Jim Collins' landmark work, specifically Built to Last: Successful Habits of Visionary Companies and Good to Great. Why some companies make the leap and others don't. I'll be digging into the core philosophy, the findings of Built to Last, which really champions this idea of architecting an enduring organization, one that's designed almost, structurally to outlast product cycles, market trends, even the departure of its most famous leaders. It's really about resilience, about that foundational purpose.
Okay, and I'll be tackling the equally fascinating principles from good to great. This one focuses much more intensely on that disciplined leap, right? That often really difficult, profoundly transformative jump a company makes from just being good, maybe pretty successful, even to achieving genuine, sustainable, and importantly, measurable greatness. So our mission for you, our listener, is to unpack these differences, the subtle ones, but also the really significant ones in Collins' research, his findings, and ultimately how we define success across these two, well, incredibly influential books. We want to give you a genuine shortcut, really, to being well-informed on what's become a pretty critical debate in business. Insights you can hopefully use right away. Okay, let's get into it.
The Built to Last Philosophy Architecting Enduring Organizations.
Okay, let's start with Built to Last. How do Collins and Porras actually define a visionary company? Because, it's tempting, isn't it? You see a company that's hot right now, dominating the news, and you immediately think, okay, successful. But they were digging for something much, much deeper than just short-term wins or being the market leader for a little while. Lots of companies manage that, right? They catch a wave, maybe a hit product, a brilliant founder.
Sure. Happens all the time.
But their research, which was incredibly extensive, points to something more fundamental, something intrinsic that lets an organization truly endure, like decade after decade, across generations even. And the really core insight here, the big takeaway, is that a visionary company is not primarily defined by its current products or its services, or even its most charismatic, game-changing leaders. Why? Because all those things, no matter how amazing they seem right now, eventually they fade. They become obsolete, or they just, pass away.
Products have life cycles. Leaders move on.
Exactly. Products get disrupted. Services change. And leaders, well, they retire, they move on, or, eventually they die. So a company built primarily around any of those fleeting things is just inherently fragile. It's built on sand, in a way. So what is it then that defines them? What lets them transcend these limits? Well, first, Collins and Porras talk about their organizational ability to continually change and evolve beyond existing product life cycles. Now, this isn't just reacting to trends. It's deeper. It's like a built-in, almost genetic adaptability. It allows the company to reinvent itself over and over, shedding old skin, growing new capabilities. It's this inherent capacity to move on from yesterday's success to build tomorrow's without getting stuck clinging to the past. It's like it's in their DNA.
Proactive, not just reactive.
Precisely. And second, just as vital, is their organizational strength to transcend any individual leader. Just think about how many companies stumble or lose their direction or sometimes even collapse completely when that powerful founder or that really dominant CEO leaves the picture.
We've all seen examples of that.
Right. Visionary companies, though, are deliberately built to outlast those individuals. The organization itself, its culture, its core ideology, its systems, that's what maintains the vision, the energy, the strategic direction through multiple generations of leaders. It's about institutionalizing the purpose, making it fundamentally bigger than any single person, no matter how brilliant or essential they might seem at that moment. That's what gives them continuity resilience. Now, a huge piece of this endurance, maybe the central piece according to Built to Last, is the power of having a really deep-seated core ideology. And this isn't just some feel-good mission statement you hang on the wall, you
Or
know.
it's just words.
No. It's the company's timeless guiding principles, its core purpose, something that goes way beyond just making money or grabbing market share. It provides absolute clarity, like an unwavering direction, a moral compass, even when everything else around them, markets, tech, competitors, is just complete chaos. It's like their immutable North Star.
Something solid to hold on to.
Exactly. And they explain, this core ideology, it has clear content. This is our core ideology and we will not breach it. It states, without ambiguity, what the company fundamentally stands for. And, maybe most importantly, what it will never compromise on, even if, some really tempting, lucrative opportunity comes along that might lure a less anchored company off course.
Setting clear boundaries.
Yes, but here's the fascinating part, the paradox. Within those firm boundaries, this same ideology simultaneously expands the number and variety of possibilities that the company can consider. So it creates this secure, principle-driven framework that actually enables exploration and taking bold risks, precisely because you know your core identity is safe. You know who you are.
So stability enables risk. That's interesting.
It is, isn't it? And here's where it gets really dynamic, this inherent tension. The core ideology also expresses a powerful drive for progress. And that drive can lead to dramatic, radical, and revolutionary changes, but always within that established framework. So you get this incredible paradox. Conservative roots meaning sticking firmly to unchanging core beliefs and values, but driving revolutionary outcomes because that internal push for progress forces them to innovate relentlessly, to adapt constantly. It's this tension, preserving the core while stimulating progress, that fuels their long-term ability to thrive and reinvent.
Conservative roots, revolutionary outcomes. I like that.
Yeah. A really good example of this is Merck, one of the companies they studied in depth. Their core ideology, famously put as medicine for the people, not for the profits, it gave their employees a sense that they were part of something more than just another corporation. This higher purpose, this belief they were making a real difference in human health, well, it inspired generations of scientists and execs to put in the extraordinary effort, the intellectual courage needed to make Merck a world-leading pharmaceutical company. It wasn't just about making drugs, it was about this deeply held purpose. And that purpose drove breakthroughs.
Purpose as a motivator.
Exactly. And this often shows up in what Collins and Porras provocatively call a cult-like culture. Now, hold on. Don't let the word cult put you off here. They mean it in a really positive sense, as a powerful, almost zealous force for intense internal alignment, motivation, and this shared sense of mission. It could be a cult of innovation, where everyone's just obsessed with new ideas, or a cult of competition, always pushing to be the absolute best. Maybe a cult of change, eagerly embracing evolution, or even, wonderfully, they say, a cult-like culture of zaniness, where unconventional thinking isn't just allowed, it's celebrated. The key point is, it's a culture that fiercely bonds people to that core ideology.
So intense alignment, whatever the flavor.
Right. And a specific detail that really makes this vivid, even if it sounds a bit, well, out there, is the famous Walmart cheer. We're literally talking about top executives at Walmart leading thousands of screaming associates in the company cheer. Give me a W, give me an A, give me an L, give me a squiggly. Associates do the squiggle. Give me M, give me an A, give me an R, give me a T. This kind of passionate, maybe quirky, but deeply embedded cultural ritual. It creates incredible bonds, reinforces the values, instills this shared identity and purpose that goes way beyond just the day-to-day job. It's about feeling like you belong to something bigger.
Wow. Okay. That's certainly memorable.
Definitely. Now let's touch on what seems like a counterintuitive idea. The conservative act of installing a core ideology and how that relates to endurance. Built to Last actually states that installing a core ideology is, by its very nature, a conservative act. That sounds paradoxical, right? How can being conservative, setting up fixed principles that resist trends, actually fuel progress and long-term survival?
Yeah, how does that work?
Well, the deep insight here, what really makes a company built to last, is that this unchanging core acts like an anchor, a solid, unwavering anchor in this constant storm of market changes and tech shifts. It's like the keel on a sailboat. It provides stability, direction, that unwavering orientation, which then allows the sales, your products, strategies, services to be incredibly agile, really responsive to the changing winds, but without ever losing your fundamental way.
So the stability of the core allows for agility elsewhere.
Precisely. This internal security, this bedrock of principles, gives organizations the confidence to take big risks, to innovate radically, to weather storms, exactly because they always know what they stand for and what they won't compromise. And you can connect this directly to Stephen Covey's idea of being principle-centered in the 7 Habits. Just like individuals find security, guidance, wisdom, and power by centering their lives on unchanging principles, rather than, say, external factors that shift all the time, organizations do too. The strength comes from knowing that correct principles do not change. That provides an internal anchor in a world of constant external change. It's this internal strength that allows for outward flexibility.
That makes sense.
Right.
Internal consistency allows external adaptation.
Exactly. This stable foundation, then, paradoxically, enables incredible adaptability and innovation in other areas. It's about having that internal security, that unshakable foundation, which gives you the confidence to handle the risks that come with being open and vulnerable to new ideas, market shifts, even internal challenges. When you're solid on your what, you're free to experiment with the how. And it even extends to sort of wider ideas about wisdom and ethics, giving strategic depth. You see this in works like strategic flexibility, where knowledge is wisdom, stuff that's unchanging, universally applicable, like core principles, is seen as essential for effective long-term leadership. It's a deeper understanding than just fleeting data. It's about enduring truths, much like, ancient philosophies talk about leadership with vision, making sure people grasp the why behind things so they don't lose their way. That clarity becomes a real strategic asset. You can even draw an interesting parallel, though carefully, to Max Weber's concept of the Protestant ethic. Now, putting aside the specific religious context, the enduring business insight is about fostering a certain kind of character. Calm, sober, and supremely conscientious, driven by an inner conviction, a sense of duty that goes beyond just the immediate reward. For visionary companies, this translates into a powerful, methodical, internally motivated approach to work. A deep commitment to excellence and purpose is not just about profit. It fosters this organizational resilience and longevity because the drive comes from within, not just from external market pressures. That ensures the commitment is deep and sustained across generations, really making these organizations built to last.
The good to great philosophy, the disciplined leap to peak performance.
It's a really compelling case for endurance, for building that solid foundation. But okay, what if a company wasn't born visionary? What if it didn't have that deep ideology right from the start? What if it's just, well, good, maybe even quite good, but not truly exceptional?
Right, that's the reality for most companies, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's precisely where good to great comes in. It shifts the focus completely. It's not about just enduring. It's about transformative performance. It's about how an organization makes that leap. And it's often a really hard, disciplined leap from being merely good, average, maybe just okay, maybe decently successful, to achieving genuine, measurable, sustained greatness. And this isn't just small improvements. It's a fundamental, profound shift in how the company operates, thinks, and sets priorities.
A transformation, not just optimization.
Precisely. Before we go deeper, we absolutely have to talk about a critical element, Level 5 leadership. Collins found that every single company that made the good to great jump was led by what he calls a Level 5 leader. These are individuals who blend, almost paradoxically, extreme personal humility with intense professional will.
Okay, so not the typical superstar CEO we often imagine.
Not usually, no. These aren't the big, charismatic, larger-than-life figures. Often they're quiet, reserved, maybe even shy. The key is they channel their ego needs away from themselves and into the larger goal of building a great company. They tend to credit success to luck, external factors, or their team, but they take personal responsibility when things go wrong. This disciplined, almost selfless leadership is a crucial, though often overlooked, catalyst for achieving greatness.
Humility and will, that's an interesting combination.
It really is. Now, the core idea guiding this whole transformation is that disciplined action only makes sense in the context of the hedgehog concept. Without this clear, unifying, almost brutally simple principle, all the hard work, all the disciplined people you hire, all the disciplined thinking you do, it might just be scattered, misdirected, ultimately not very effective. The hedgehog concept is like the guiding star that ensures all that effort is pointed in the right direction, towards focused greatness, stopping companies from chasing every shiny new thing that comes along.
Okay, so the hedgehog concept is fundamental. What exactly is it?
Right. And understanding it is key. But Collins warns us very clearly. It would be a terrible mistake to thoughtlessly attempt to jump right to a hedgehog concept. This isn't something you figure out in a weekend retreat with some flip charts.
Ah, no quick fix then.
Definitely not. As much as consultants might want you to believe that, it takes deep thinking, tough debates, often years of sort of iterative understanding to really grasp it. He uses this great analogy, almost funny. It would be like Einstein saying, I think it's time to go to great scientists, so I'm going to go off to the Four Seasons this weekend, pull out the flip charts, and unlock the secrets of the universe. It just highlights how much profound insight, intellectual honesty, and deep understanding of your company's unique reality is needed. It's not superficial. It's a real journey of discovery.
Okay, point taken. So what's involved in finding it?
It boils down to the intersection of three overlapping circles. You need deep understanding in all three areas. First, what can you be the best in the world at? And this is critical. Not what you want to be best at or wish you could be best at, but what you genuinely, realistically can be the best in the world at. Given your capabilities, resources, market realities, it means being brutally honest, often admitting there are lots of things you can't be the best at.
Realism, not aspiration.
Exactly. Second, what are you deeply passionate about? This is the motivation piece. Your people, from the top down, need to be intrinsically fired up by the work itself. If there's no passion, you'll never sustain the effort needed for greatness. It fuels that internal drive for the long haul.
The why behind the work.
Precisely. And third, what drives your economic engine? This is the practical side. How does your company generate sustainable, superior cash flow and profitability? What's the key denominator? Maybe it's profit per customer, or per employee, or per store, or per transaction. Understanding this single metric allows you to allocate resources effectively and make smart strategic choices.
Got it. Best in the world, passion, economic engine.
Right. And it's only at that powerful intersection where all three circles overlap do you find your true hedgehog concept, your single unifying purpose. And once you truly get that, it becomes the filter. It guides disciplined people, leads to disciplined thought, which then enables the necessary disciplined action. Every decision, every new idea, every resource allocation has to pass the hedgehog test. Does it fit all three circles? If not, the answer is no.
Right.
This isn't just focus. It's a strategic simplification that frees up energy and makes everything you decide to do incredibly more effective.
Less scattered, more impactful.
Exactly. And this disciplined action then has to drive concrete, measurable results, tangible outcomes. Collins talks about catalytic mechanisms, borrowing from the book, turning goals into results. Think of these not just as policies, but as powerful, almost self-regulating systems or deeply ingrained processes. They're specifically designed to translate those big strategic goals into specific, measurable, consistently achieved results. They're like relentless engines of execution, making sure the company isn't just talking about greatness, but systematically building it.
Okay, can you give an example of a catalytic mechanism?
Absolutely. A fantastic one is Granite Rock's short pay system.
Right.
This wasn't just some slogan. It was a dead serious, explicit commitment. Customers could automatically deduct 10% from any invoice if it wasn't received within 24 hours of delivery. Can you imagine the internal discipline required for that? The communication, the process, perfection?
Wow, yeah, that forces you to be on top of your game.
Completely. It's a catalytic mechanism because it directly links action, or inaction, to a clear consequence, relentlessly driving behavior towards customer satisfaction and operational excellence. It forces the company to be great in that specific area. And the impact, it was huge, especially for a company in a commodity business. Granite Rock, relatively small, consistently gained market share in a commodity business dominated by behemoths, all the while charging a 6% price premium. They won the prestigious Baldrige National Quality Award. Their profit ratios were comparable to tech giants like HP. It shows the real, measurable outcomes that flow from disciplined greatness driven by these kinds of mechanisms.
That's impressive. Concrete results.
And this ties into something else. Strategic alignment, making sure everyone understands the why. As the authors of Extreme Ownership emphasize, it's crucial for senior leaders to explain the strategy, the why, to their teams. Junior leaders need to understand it, believe in it, and feel empowered to ask questions, give feedback upwards. This ensures strategies actually work on the ground. It creates this continuous learning loop, making sure disciplined execution isn't just blind obedience, but informed and adaptive.
Everyone pulling in the same direction, understanding why.
Exactly. And this is quite different from traditional management, which often relies on detailed, well-researched plans made at the top, especially in fast-changing environments. Great companies, as highlighted in the Lean Startup, embrace continuous innovation and validated learning. They test, iterate, adapt quickly. They're willing to change things, even traditional roles like maybe engineers have to talk directly to customers. It's about being responsive, experimenting, learning as you go, not just sticking rigidly to a plan that might be outdated almost immediately. This agility, combined with discipline, is what accelerates the journey to greatness.
And adaptability within the discipline framework.
Right. And finally, let's touch on the executive mindset needed. Peter Drucker, in What Makes an Effective Executive, pointed out that effective leaders make sure that problems do not overwhelm opportunities. He even suggested it's far wiser to list opportunities on the first page of reports and deal with problems later, unless it's a total crisis. This keeps the focus on growth, on potential, not just putting out fires.
Opportunity-focused thinking.
Yes. And then there's the legendary Alfred P. Sloan Jr. at GM. His approach to meetings was incredibly disciplined. He'd listen intently, rarely speak except to clarify, and then, immediately after, send out these concise memos, small masterpieces, Drucker called them, summarizing decisions and, crucially, assigning specific accountability with clear deadlines. That is disciplined execution in action, clear communication, accountability, follow-through. It's not about grand speeches. It's about consistent, meticulous action building greatness over time.
The power of consistent execution.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the flywheel effect, another core concept in Good to Great. Greatness isn't usually achieved in one dramatic breakthrough. It's more like turning a giant, heavy flywheel. At first, it takes immense, sustained effort just to get it moving. But each consistent push, each disciplined action aligned with a hedgehog concept adds a little bit of momentum. Over time, push after push, the flywheel builds speed. Eventually, it gains so much momentum that it seems almost effortless from the outside, driving breakthrough results. But it's all the result of that persistent, disciplined effort compounding over time. It's the ultimate payoff for disciplined action.
The crossroads navigating the tensions between visionary and great.
Okay, so we've got these two really powerful frameworks. On one side, built to last, enduring, foundational core ideology, structure built for relevance across generations. On the other, good to great. That disciplined leap, level 5 leadership, relentless pursuit of peak performance via the hedgehog concept. Now here's where it gets really fascinating, right? Where the tension bubbles up. How do these two perspectives handle innovation? Is it about protecting and sustaining the core, or is it about making disruptive leaps?
Yeah, this is a critical point of comparison.
From the built-to-last view, remember, a visionary company has that organizational ability to continually change and evolve beyond existing product life cycles. Their core ideology enables a cult-like culture of innovation. But, and this is key, it's innovation that serves the core. It's about adapting how you do things, how you deliver value, how you stay relevant, all while preserving what your fundamental purpose, your values. The outward form might evolve, but the essence remains. So the innovation is often, incremental, enhancing the core, making sure it doesn't become obsolete.
Okay, preserving the core through adaptation. But here's the thing. When you look at disruptive innovation, and Clayton Christensen's work in The Innovator's Dilemma is just essential here, the picture gets really challenging, even for companies that seem built to last. Christensen showed how these seemingly inferior technologies, like those smaller disk drives that were slower and had lower capacity, completely blindsided the established industry leaders. Why?
Because they didn't seem good enough initially.
Exactly. The established companies were brilliant at sustaining technologies, making their existing products better for their best customers. They were doing exactly what good management told them to do. But Christensen found their batting average was 0 when it came to disruptive technologies. And the reason wasn't stupidity or lack of resources. It was precisely because their successful processes and values, the very things that made them great at serving existing customers, were structurally geared against embracing technologies that initially looked less profitable, less sophisticated, or served smaller, less important markets. Their success created blinders.
Wow, so their strength became their weakness in a disruptive context.
Absolutely, which leads to a really provocative question for everyone listening. Does being built to last, with that strong focus on an enduring core and established processes, sometimes make that good to great leap into totally new disruptive markets harder? Is the big challenge for visionary companies to keep adapting their definition of greatness without losing their soul? Or does striving for new kinds of greatness sometimes force you to disrupt even your core beliefs and the ways you've always operated? It's like walking a strategic tightrope, isn't it?
That is a deep and honestly kind of unsettling question. The very thing that gives you endurance might hold you back from transformation. It's a real potential conflict. Okay, let's shift gears slightly and look at leadership through these two lenses. Built to Last, as we said, really emphasizes that a visionary company does not necessarily die, not if it has the organizational strength to transcend any individual leader. The core ideology, the institutionalized purpose, that's paramount. The company is designed to outlive even the most charismatic founder. The organization itself is the hero, not the individual.
Right, institutional strength over individual brilliance for longevity. But we see so many compelling examples where a strong individual visionary seems absolutely essential for that massive leap to greatness, especially when a company is drifting or needs radical change. Think about someone like Elon Musk. Ashley Vance's biography describes how Musk used his, well, bluster mode, his sheer force of will and audacious vision, to overcome huge skepticism, drive Tesla's success, build a global charging network when nobody else thought it made sense.
He certainly fits the visionary leader mold.
Or Steve Jobs. Walter Isaacson's book details how Jobs insisted on going to the source of the facts, talking directly to young engineers to get the unvarnished truth. That was crucial for making the kind of bold, informed decisions that completely transformed multiple industries.
Direct access to reality.
Exactly. And Daniel Goleman, in Leadership That Gets Results, talks about the authoritative leader, not authoritarian, but authoritative, who charts a new course and sells his people on a fresh, long-term vision. Goldman says this style is particularly effective when a business is adrift or needs a major turnaround. This really suggests that while institutional purpose is vital for the long run, sometimes you need that powerful individual to be the catalyst, to provide the clarity and drive for that initial good to great transformation.
So it raises the question for us and for you listening. Can a company truly achieve sustained greatness without a strong individual visionary pushing it forward, at least at critical moments? Or is the ultimate test of a truly visionary company its ability to keep achieving greatness no matter who's leading?
It's almost that chicken and egg thing again, isn't it? Visionary leader first, or institutional vision carrying the torch? Okay, let's move to culture and strategy. From the built to last perspective, we talked about how installing a core ideology is, by its very nature, a conservative act. It provides stability, that clear anchor defining the organization. Michael Porter, in Competitive Strategy, connects this idea by noting that a firm's strengths and weaknesses shape its strategic options. A clear ideology helps a company understand its true strengths and weaknesses, allowing it to build strategies like focusing on low-cost production or maybe vertically integrating based on internal capabilities that are deeply rooted in its identity. It suggests more of an internal structural focus where consistency is a key advantage.
Strategy flows from stable identity.
Right. But then you have perspectives like those in strategic flexibility, which argue competitive advantage isn't just about your position in the market, but also about your capabilities, highlighting corporate culture as crucial for adaptation. This view talks about deliberate and emergent corporate cultures, the planned parts versus the parts that evolve organically. The core of transformational change, it suggests, is a fundamental shift in the knowledge base of the organization. That requires constant relearning and creating new knowledge.
So less about stability, more about continuous learning and agility.
Exactly. It's about agility, about ongoing discovery-driven experimentation to find those unique, idiosyncratic insights and resource combinations that competitors find really hard to copy. This is about dynamic adaptation, almost constantly rebuilding your internal knowledge to stay ahead, not just relying on a fixed position.
Okay, so this sets up another really interesting tension. Is that strong, unchanging core ideology, the built-to-last foundation, actually a prerequisite for making those disciplined good to great shifts? Does it provide the necessary grounding for taking big leaps? Or can that very ideology sometimes become what Kem and Mauborgne call a red ocean trap in blue ocean strategy, keeping you stuck, competing fiercely in crowded existing markets? If it prevents you from fundamentally redefining your purpose or your business model to create truly new value.
Does your anchor become your chains?
Exactly. That's a really sharp way to put it, and it feels incredibly relevant today with the pace of change just constantly accelerating. Could your anchor become your chains if you're not vigilant? Okay, let's try to make this even more concrete by looking at some real-world examples, seeing how these philosophies kind of manifest in the market. Thinking about market growth and perception first, we see a lot of focus on rapid expansion these days.
Real-world manifestations and nuances.
Oh, absolutely. The current landscape, as described in blitzscaling, is just defined by new technologies emerging rapidly and promise to change everything again. And in this kind of environment, where speed and scale often feel paramount, markets and investors are increasingly willing to fund aggressive bets on blitzscaling. This allows companies like, say, Airbnb or Xiaomi to grow incredibly fast, stay private much longer, and hit these massive valuations, tens of billions, before they even consider going public. It really reflects the good to great style focus on speed, aggressive growth, grabbing market share first, asking questions later, essentially betting on future dominance. It's a disciplined but incredibly fast drive for peak performance and market capture.
Yeah, but there's a real danger in that approach too, isn't there? Seth Godin in Purple Cow offers a great warning. He says many companies, after they have an initial big success, their cow, they just took profits and then they streamlined and mechanized and milked their cow. They focus on efficiency, on optimizing what worked before, instead of using it to create a series of innovations that could lead to the next cow. And that, he argues, leads straight to stagnation, to becoming average, losing that distinctiveness. You stop being remarkable because you're busy polishing the past instead of inventing the future. That feels very counter to the built to last idea of continuous evolution.
That's a great counterpoint. Milking the cow versus finding the next one. And this ties into the whole issue of market perception versus underlying value. A random walk down Wall Street provides fascinating historical context showing clinching evidence of wide-scale stock market irrationality during the 1920s. He sets examples like closed-end funds selling at absolutely astronomical premiums. Goldman Sachs Trading Corporation, for instance, was trading at twice its actual net asset value, purely driven by hype and speculation. It just highlights how market perception, fueled by irrational speculative enthusiasm, or just a hot story, and completely detached from real underlying value. Good to great companies? Well, they need market success, have to navigate this. They need to ground their decisions in their hedgehog concept, not just chase the hype.
That's fascinating because Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, offers such a powerful, contrasting wisdom in The Intelligent Investor. He constantly reminds us that underpriced is far from synonymous with going up soon. It requires patience and fortitude for true long-term value to be recognized. This aligns perfectly with the built-to-last ethos, right? Focusing on enduring intrinsic value, not just short-term market fads. Graham famously said being too far ahead of your time is indistinguishable from being wrong. So while markets might go wild, a truly visionary company plays the long game, building real lasting value regardless of today's stock price.
Patience and fortitude, essential for the long haul. And we can't talk about perceived greatness versus reality without mentioning Enron. The smartest guys in the room documents this perfectly. Enron's stock was soaring, its executives were hailed as geniuses, visionaries. And because they were seen as brilliant, the thinking went, all their new ideas had to be winners. It created this intoxicating narrative. Wall Street just ignored the incomprehensible financial statements, the dodgy related party transactions. This whole aura of whiz kids blinded people to the fundamental flaws, the ethical black holes. It's such a stark example of perceived greatness completely detached from any enduring ethical core, a total illusion, a house of cards. It shows that not all things that look great actually are or can last.
That is such a powerful cautionary tale, the absolute need for that ethical core for any kind of real longevity. Okay, let's pivot slightly to customer centricity and purpose. From that visionary, built to last perspective, Theodore Levitt's classic marketing myopia warns industries not to lose sight of fundamental customer needs by defining themselves too narrowly like railroads, thinking they were in the railroad business, not the transportation business. Visionary companies understand their purpose through the customer's eyes. Think about Howard Schultz talking about Starbucks and pour your heart into it. He says Starbucks entrusts the Starbucks brand to the hands of the baristas, deliberately choosing to invest more on training our people than on advertising our product. Why? To deliver that consistently high-level customer experience that builds enduring loyalty, something much deeper than just the coffee itself.
That investment in people to create the experience is definitely a powerful strategy for enduring success. And then you have maybe the other end of the spectrum, described in Brad Stone's The Everything Store, Jeff Bezos' relentless, some might say ruthless, customer obsession at Amazon. Their mission is basically to raise the bar across industries for what it means to be customer-focused. This absolute focus fuels a limitless spring of new ideas, constantly pushing for things like same-day delivery, long before it seemed feasible, or even pioneering whole new industries like cloud computing with AWS, initially just to serve their own needs better. Now, this intensity can lead to ruthlessly competitive behavior that sometimes damages or destroys competitors, but it's undeniably greatness driven by this fanatical dedication to serving the customer, anticipating needs, and delivering unparalleled value through constant innovation.
Two very different flavors of customer focus, both incredibly powerful in their own ways. Okay, finally, let's briefly touch on the internal mechanics. How do management and teamwork contribute? From a built to last angle, The Discipline of Teams by Katzenbach and Smith talks about striving for integration rather than compromise. It's about balancing single leader and the team disciplines. This really speaks to the internal coherence needed for an enduring organization, cultivating a common working approach, a culture where people are mutually accountable, where they can disagree, even strongly, but still commit fully to the shared goal. That internal alignment, that ability to integrate different views without falling apart, seems absolutely critical for being built to last.
Yeah, that internal cohesion is vital. And then for driving that good to great leap, you look at something like Kim Scott's radical candor. She gives really practical advice on transparent guidance, what most of us just call feedback, and stresses the importance of no surprises in performance reviews. She even suggests doing a sanity check with peers to get a broader, fairer perspective on performance. This points to the kind of disciplined, open, sometimes uncomfortable communication that's necessary to really push individuals and teams towards genuine greatness, making sure everyone knows exactly where they stand and how they can improve. It's about challenging people directly while showing you care personally to get the absolute best out of them.
Camber as a tool for improvement.
Exactly. And there's this one anecdote from Radical Candor I love. It's maybe a bit quirky, but it captures the spirit. She talks about a manager who would ask direct reports for their CAD crazy-ass dream. Like one person dreamed of starting a spirulina farm, another wanted to be a deep-sea diver. It shows a culture that doesn't just tolerate, but actively encourages individual ambition, big thinking, even unconventional dreams. And that energy, if you can harness it correctly, can be an incredible source of innovation and drive for organizational greatness. It's about tapping into that internal passion and directing it, not shutting it down. Outro.
Wow, what a deep dive that was. We've really explored the core ideas of Jim Collins's hugely influential work today, comparing and contrasting these two powerful blueprints for success. So just quickly recap. Built to last companies, they prioritize that foundational, unchanging core ideology. They build an organizational structure designed for sustained relevance, meant to last across generations, transcending any single product or leader. The institution itself is built for endurance.
Right. And good to great companies, on the other hand, they achieve that transformative leap through, first, that profound understanding of their hedgehog concept combined with level 5 leadership and the persistent momentum of the flywheel. This understanding then fuels relentless, disciplined action, often requiring significant, sometimes tough changes, and always maintaining a laser-like focus on measurable performance and results. That's what propels them far beyond their peers. It's about achieving and sustaining peak performance.
And what seems really clear, despite their different angles, is that both models fundamentally highlight the incredible power of culture, the absolute critical importance of leadership, whether it's institutionalized or driven by a humble visionary, and of course the undeniable necessity of continuous innovation to stay relevant and remarkable in any era.
Absolutely. Which leaves us, and leaves you, our listener, with a really interesting dilemma, doesn't it? Is a company truly visionary if it never actually achieves sustained, exceptional greatness? If it just stays good, even for a very, very long time? And conversely, can a company be truly great for the long haul if it hasn't fundamentally built itself to last? If it's too reliant on fleeting products or market trends, or the unique genius of one irreplaceable leader? Maybe they aren't mutually exclusive at all. Maybe they represent different stages, or perhaps different but complementary dimensions of ultimate success.
That's a great point. So as you think about your own work, the organizations you're involved with, maybe even the companies you follow or invest in, here's a final thought to mull over from the built to last perspective. If all products, all services, even the most brilliant leaders eventually fade or become obsolete, what intrinsic fundamental quality must a company possess today to be genuinely considered built to last for the next 50 or 100 years? What's that truly irreducible essence?
And from the other side, in this world of constant accelerating disruption where entire industries can vanish almost overnight, is the ultimate measure of greatness, perhaps no longer about reaching some fixed summit. Is it instead about possessing the continuous disciplined capacity to transform and reinvent oneself, to make that good to great leap again and again, while still holding fast to a core purpose that guides that never-ending evolution?
Exactly. Maybe in this incredibly dynamic world we live in, the ultimate vision for any company isn't just to be built to last or simply to achieve greatness, but rather to cultivate the ability to continually redefine greatness for its time without ever losing its core essence. A kind of dynamic stability, perhaps, where an enduring purpose fuels endless, disciplined evolution. Thank you for diving deep with us today.